1. Transitioning. Dr. Mark Andrews' dark, curly head bent forward as he peered into the little blonde girl's eye. It seemed that Cassie Wilson had had one medical emergency after another. She had become a weekly visitor since her parents had separated and she lived with her single mom, the willowy brunette, Andrea. Cassie's father had ridden out of Peaceful Valley with his 20-year-old secretary, according to Mark's office manager, Marcia Green. Cassie's parents' acrimonious split had happened just about the time Mark's wife, petite, red-headed Melissa, had been killed in a car accident. Mark and Melissa had been on their way home from celebrating her cancer-free diagnosis and ovarian surgery. A drunk driver had run a red light and broadsided Melissa's side of the car. Mark was still jerked out of a sound sleep by his nightmare of screeching steel and Melissa's scream. Although she had survived for several days, she was brain dead. Her father, Henry, and Mark had decided the best plan for Melissa was to let her go peacefully. The weeks after her funeral were still a blur to Mark almost 3 years later. At his father-in-law's insistence, he had hired a live-in cook, housekeeper, chauffeur and nanny to help look after his daughters, Jennifer, Kelly, and Lisa. Mark could not believe his girls were now nearly 13, 11 and 7. Jennifer would be starting high school next year. Already, Melissa had missed so many important moments in her girls' lives. Mark and Henry did everything they could to bridge the gap, but nothing and no one could replace their mother. It broke Mark's heart when the girls stopped each morning just inside the front door to say goodbye to their mom's portrait that hung in the foyer of their new beach house. Henry Morgan had been right. The family needed help. Together he and Mark had made a list of their impossible requirements of a domestic executive. When the list was complete, Mark and Henry stared at it in disbelief. Must be able to live in, experience working with children a necessity, must have a driver's license, must have criminal references check, non-smoker, able to take on role of cook, house cleaner, weekends free, weekday hours vary, able to multitask, enjoys a flexible, self-initiated schedule, organized and industrious. We'll never find someone to fill these criteria no matter how much I offer her, Mark had sighed. Leave it to me, Henry had promised. 2 days later, like an angel, Miss Helen had come into their lives and their hearts. Finding her had seemed a miracle at the time, and with each day it seemed more so. Miss Helen had helped Bobby Fulton raise his daughters after his wife's death. When the last one went off to college, Bobby suggested to Henry that Miss Helen was needed more at Mark's house than at his. Miss Helen was a miracle worker and fairy godmother all wrapped into one efficient package. The girls' clothes were washed, mended, hung and folded. There were no more laundry crises. Meals were nutritious and delicious. The girls even ate asparagus and broccoli. The puppy Miss Helen and the girls had rescued from the animal shelter was trained in no time. Miss Helen had drawn up an elaborate schedule of doggy feeding, walking, and grooming. The girls had never missed completing their pet responsibilities. Dab filled a void in the girls' lives when they most needed it. The Andrews household gradually established a routine. There were rough spots, but Miss Helen always seemed to notice when one of the girls was sad, or angry, or withdrawn. She always seemed to be able to ask the right questions to get the child to tell her what was wrong. And, most importantly, Miss Helen could wipe tears away and get the sad little girl to see the good in things. Mark was grateful for her calm reassurance and her constant vigilance over his little family. Her presence made them all feel safe, secure, and loved. The girls took their problems and good news to Miss Helen like they would a beloved grandmother. At the end of each day, Mark and Miss Helen met so she would deliver her report, as she put it. Like Henry Morgan, the unflappable Miss Helen became part of Mark's extended family. The summer after Melissa's death, Bobby Fulton once again filled a void, offering his beach house to Mark's family. While Mark commuted back and forth to his practice in Peaceful Valley, California 3 days a week, Henry and Miss Helen watched over the girls who grew tanned and healthy. It was then that Mark decided to hire a young doctor for his California practice and spend more time in Myrtle Beach. He started a medical practice in Myrtle Beach. Until his clinic got up and running, he helped Dr. Grayson 2 days a week in Charleston. Henry, with hardly any coaxing from his granddaughters, sold his place in San Francisco. Mark still chuckled when he recalled how amazed the girls, Henry, and even Miss Helen had been at the surprise renovations he'd had done to the beach house after he and Bobby worked out a mutually agreeable co-owner's contract. Mark had worried that the move was too much for change too fast for his daughters. Henry had commented that salt water heals. He'd been right. The girls were happy in Myrtle Beach and Mark loved the laid-back hours of his new practice. He was still helping Dr. Grayson 2 days a week, and every month Dr. David's check arrived from Peaceful Valley. Mark had two surprise links to their old life in California. The taciturn Marcia Green announced she was not about to break in another rookie doctor and promptly appointed herself the new office manager of Mark's emerging Myrtle Beach practice. The other surprise was even more shocking, and a little unsettling. The willowy brunette, Andrea Wilson, had turned up at Mark's new office with Cassie in tow. She claimed Cassie wouldn't let any other doctor near her, and so Andrea had accepted a job as events manager at one of Myrtle Beach's posh hotels. Marcia snidely pointed out that Andrea's millionaire father owned the hotel, and the only event Andrea was planning was nabbing the available Dr. Andrews. "Not with you and Miss Helen guarding the door," Mark chuckled. "Besides, my life is too busy and complicated for women. I don't know the first thing about dating," he exclaimed. "You won't have to know anything about dating if you don't run fast," Miss Helen commented dryly. "That woman will run you to ground and truss you up like a chicken if you don't keep moving. She's got her eye on you like a hunter sighting his quarry, and she's making a full-time career of bagging you."